Greetings, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party, and my buddy Rhett. I got her a nut. I don't know where it is, though. That is crazy. Maybe I already gave it to her. I don't think so, though. I don't know where the nut ended up. It was a nice little walnut, too. Sorry, Rhett. Oh, there it is. That was a weird place. Oh, my camera's not even, my webcam's not on. Deactivate, activate. There we go. There you go, girl. That one should be a good bit of work for her because it's a walnut that I cracked, but it isn't particularly hard. All right, so we are on our 13th session working on trying to integrate something called a ThreeJS group in between the scene and the mesh. So right now my scene has a list of mesh IDs, but when this is all done, it's going to have a list of group IDs, hopefully, and each group will then have a list of mesh IDs. So, and in case you're wondering, all of that describes this little box here. There. And then like if we go in this view, it describes its position here. So if I add a second one, then this, all of that describes this. So now if we go back to our data entities, you'll see that we have two of them now, and that we have a, but anyway, so I knew it was going to be hard, and this is going to be the 13th session. I wanted to kind of slow roll this one because I thought it was important to sort of deeply analyze what's happening all along the ways, because this is a task that I have to do quite often and get it done, but I don't really like sort of, I kind of go in, I do the coding, and I come out and I don't really remember what happened in the middle. So so when that happens, you can't really you can't really ever explain it or understand it or anything like that. Now, in the meantime, I have come up with this concept of these green checkboxes being where I have stopped working, and then I can pick up again there. I usually leave a little note, and then additionally, I've gotten to where like when I start working on something, if I have to like rabbit hole into something else, when I do the to do over there, I'll put two checkboxes. And then if I have to rabbit hole again, I'll put three checkboxes. I think right now the record is four checkboxes, where I've had to be like four levels deep. Um, Also, I made this anonymous function up here on line 103 that gets passed into this for each method the of the array. And so this anonymous function, I definitely know that I will likely would rather make sure that this runs as a standalone function, not an anonymous function. So there may be some sort of binding or something like that. And then I probably want to change this to where it like is calls a function, and all the function does is figure out what the current group is. Oh, so really all this does is it's kind of like a side effect. All it does is iterate over each mesh ID and tell the mesh service that that a there's a delete mesh candidate. Um, and because the mesh service is the one that's going to know if if a mesh can be destroyed. But oddly enough, then the mesh has to ask the group if that mesh is being used in any other groups. So so the group knows if it's being used, and that's really that's one limiting factor on whether it should be deleted or not. Um, and it's the only one at this point, but it's coming. So, anyways, there does not seem to be a delete group in this group service. That's right. So yesterday I went down sort of a um, rabbit hole where I started refactoring my delete from scenes or something like that, I think is what happened. And then ended up breaking the existing system because I'm still dependent on scenes being inside of meshes. So I think I need to create a group, this group service. Oh, in group service. So now okay, so here's a perfect example where I need to go to group service and add a delete by group ID. When I go over there, I'm going to be like, um, I'm going to be two checkboxes deep, right? So now, am I in? Where am I? Where am I? Okay, I'm actually in group service. Okay, so I guess what I want to do is probably go to like the mesh service and so say, or no, the scene service and say delete by scene ID. And I think the delete, oh wait, okay, this should have been three group service. So I forgot, and I knew I was going to regret this. I really should have named it like this, three group service, and then all of this confusion that just happened would be gone. So that group service needs a delete by group ID, and it doesn't have one. So that's our problem. So now we want to go to group service, which I went back and forth early on. I'm going to close the other things. I went back and forth um, on whether I should name that group service because it's sort of by implied that it's three, right? That's what we're working on here at ThreeJS. Or should I um, name it three group service so that things would be less confusing? And I would have actually saved a lot of time there if that had been named three group service. And like right now, it doesn't matter, but there are times when it really does matter. Like to be able to get something done fast. Like so. So is there a delete? Oh, see, we're still in ST group service. Let's go to group service. There it is right there. So now I'm just going to right click and say go to definition. I think that's what I want. And it surprises me that we don't actually. So we have a. Oh, okay, so we changed it to be a little bit more readable. We named it delete by ST, delete group by ST group ID. So we actually do have it coded. We just try to improve the name, which then led to confusion, which, you know, is not a particularly unusual by STID. Delete ST group. No, what was it? Delete group by ST group ID, not by ID. There we go. So that is done. And that's the other thing is the green checkboxes there are really cool for um, like I know I don't ever want those things to actually get saved or committed. All right, so let's uncomment this comment. Now this should be good. So now we're saying, hey, we've deleted it. Now let's go ahead and um, recycle the group ID. And none of this code has ever been even slightly fixed. Is that what I'm trying to say? Oh, it ever been executed. This code has never run. So there's that. And then there we go. Now, there we go. So that is good. All right. So to be honest with you, are we there? Are we there yet? Is that what happened here? I don't know. Wrong one. It feels like I don't know what to do next. Okay, so I guess we want to wherever we need. I guess we need wherever we create a base, a base. Um, oh wait. Okay, so we create a great base group. And I think when you create a, so I think when we create a base scene, we actually, as part of that, part of that process, we actually create some meshes as part of the process. So we want to create a group, but the group doesn't have any meshes in it. But I guess it would be nice to see it in here and just like kind of run through at least even the group thing. So we're kind of at a a, a fork in the road, right? We have like a two twin kind of we have twin problems that can be. It doesn't matter which one you do first. Um, One is that we aren't creating any meshes with this group, so there won't be anything to see if we were to move over. So before we can actually completely shift over to using this group service, we'll have to add meshes, a mesh to that, right? So that's number one. But number two, um, we also need to call this from the scene. So then, and I'm going purposely going through this through slow motion because I've done this 1,000 times, and I just immediately, or hundreds of times, and I just immediately know that what I want to do is actually want to create my group and see it in here with no meshes in it, and see that group ID in this ST scene. Or and so then I can run all this code and just make sure that I don't have any like really silly mistakes, that everything looks right. Then once I've done that, then I can add a mesh to my group, right? And then once I've done that, then I can maybe delete this mesh so that I mean, the mesh will still be there. Actually, the mesh will still be there, it just won't be in the scenes. And then try to update that way. So there's like kind of two different directions to go. And since I finally have I kind of feel like it's like there's like a saying, come up for air. Like I feel like I've been swimming deep and I can't even check to see if this code actually works in any way, shape, or form, validate it in any way. And now I'm going to have an opportunity to validate it. So I want to take the opportunity to validate my code. So that's the one benefit to building out the call from scene, creating the group before fleshing out the group with meshes. And it could go either way. We could do it either way, um, but I feel like this way is just a little bit easier just because I can see what's going on. And I know that was long. I hope it wasn't preachy. I didn't mean to be preachy, but I wasn't kind of more than trying to communicate anything outwardly to like anyone who watches this video. I was more trying to just think out loud so that in the future, when I need to speak on these things, if I ever need to speak on these things, I have words. I've sort of composed the words. Um, so anyway, so now I want to go to my scene service, and I want to create wherever I create a group. I'm thinking, and that's actually could be a very bad assumption, but I'm thinking whenever I create my base scene, that I create a group. There's my delete, get. Yeah, I'm in ST scene service. Oh yeah, so we create our base scene and see here's where we create our base mesh and then we push it onto the scene. We don't want that anymore. But what we can do, and I want it to have a bigger number than that. Just, I don't know why. So const base group colon, it's an ST group and it's equal to this dot ST. So we aren't even injecting the group service. So this is where I put my checkbox. Okay. And then I like to kind of put like sort of the start of the code that I want, and then a note here. So uh, need to create a base group. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is that um, I have in my brain, I don't know, I just organically would come up with like the higher on the food chain will safely inject the lower on the food chain. But the lower on the food chain, they have to inject the singleton services from in a deferred way. So I can just bring in the base group. I don't need to worry about that. But when I'm at the base group, when I go to bring in the scene, I have to bring it in deferred. And that's just like a weird thing that I have to do at this moment. I don't always have to do that, but at this moment I have to do it because I mean I have to do it at this moment because it'll only work that way. There's no other reason to do it. If there's nothing wrong with singletons injecting each other like from a I don't think there is from a computer science perspective, but I do think that just the way they decide to build how Angular builds out the injector, it has to exist. They both can't inject each other directly. I think it's called eager injecting or eager dependency injection, something like that. So now we want to get our ST. And so when we're all done, um, well, when we're all done, we'll know that I don't know a good way to do that. But when we're all done, we'll know that we're done. One thing we'll know we'll make it to where we know we're done is if we don't have the ST mesh service in here anymore. The scene shouldn't, I think after this, the scene shouldn't even have the vaguest idea what a mesh is. Right now, the scene knows what a group is. I mean, the idea is that the scene would know what a group is and the group would know what a mesh is, and the scene wouldn't know anything about meshes. And I mean, that's just kind of like the way things were throughout most of my career. It could very well be that could that very likely has a very good chance of one day being an anti-pattern. But today in 2026, as far as I know, in the July of 2026, you cannot. I mean, this is a good way to do things, and and you have to be flexible. You have to be ready to change. All right. So this would have been like a double checkbox if we had to wait, but now this ST group service dot create base group. All right. And then, okay, what's it complaining about? No, that's not the problem. Oh, so this is just an ID. And I keep doing that. It's just sort of my nature. Um, but like I learned in a very hard lesson that we really do need to um, that we really need to just not have references to the objects, but have references to the IDs. Because every time you create a reference to an object, this I'm thinking out loud again, but I think every time you create a reference, and unfortunately, when I think out loud, I think in a from a preachy voice, like as if I'm being preached to. And I know that like a lot of young people today, like they don't like that, and that immediately assume that you're being manipulative if when you go into that sort of preachy tenor, I guess is what it would be called. So, but I'm just preaching to myself in a way that the way I learned how to learn. Um, but I learned a very difficult lesson on like every single time you create a reference to an object. So anytime I create any sort of reference to an object. So here we have a reference to a number. So we have a reference to a primitive. But here we have a reference to an object. We have, so with primitives, it's very low stress, right? As soon as the garbage, as soon as you don't need that reference anymore, the garbage collector comes and grabs it up and you're good. But um, so base group ID, the way it's coded on line 45, will be destroyed on line 62. I mean, not necessarily. It won't. The garbage collector can delete will be marked for destruction on line 62. This base mesh will not be marked for destruction. May or may not be. If anything else is pointing at this mesh, then it won't be marked for destruction. So I have to think way more carefully every time I actually get a a reference to an object, and I don't even know why. Um, I Yeah, see, I never even used the space mesh. I don't even think. So that base mesh. So in all reality, in all likelihood, if you actually built out this code, that wouldn't have even made it into the final code. It's very possible that the whole Angular transpiler could just wipe it out. Well, I mean, would just remove it because it would see that it was never used. Um, like if this IDE can sense that, so can the transpiler. So it's very possible. But we don't ever use the group ID because I think what we want to do is, wow, so I actually get a copy of the whole three mesh too. So I guess maybe I don't know. I never actually used the mesh. I bet you I was passing over the mesh ID for whatever this is. And I think, oh, so this scene service, see, it would have been so nice if that was named 3 scene service. But this scene service here is the ThreeJS version saying, hey, okay, this is where we actually, I want to create like a emoticon for that. Actually, I'll do this. I think I want to start trying to do that anytime I'm actually writing writes to 3JS. See, this is where as real can get. This is where reality happens now. And I guess it does make sense that this would happen in the scene service. But now we have our base group ID. Um, we probably need to get the 3 group. So 3 group and 3.group. And then we want to get group by, oh, 3. Ah, see, that was so smart. So I call this the 3 mesh service. I had a comment for myself here. Look into removing this as a construction time dependency. All right. So I named my mesh service three mesh service. So I want to name this three group service. And it is a what we call a group service because obviously it's three. And we probably need to inject that. And that looks like the right place. It's in the native group service and inject group service. And I guess I should do that. There we go. I like that one. So I think that to me means in that it's like something to consider. It's not like I not as it's not it doesn't rise to the level of a to do, but and I guess I have two different kinds of to dos. I have like something that like we're gonna have to do later, and then I have something that I need to get done now. So like or here inject three mesh service. Oh, that's a bummer. Later. Oh, I like that. It was like an alarm clock. I wonder if this is the good one. I don't know. So we're going to do that later. We should not need the mesh service once the group is integrated. All right, and then get group by st group ID. Oh, I gotta believe. Oh, it's three group service. There's no E in group. Oh, and that was the name of it. That to me, that's a validation step. Like when I properly guess the name that I named the other one, because I definitely don't remember it. But when I properly guess it, that means I think that that's a good sign for an architecture. When you can just sort of use logic to determine the name of a function. If logic works, you probably have a nice solid. You heard it here first too. I just made that up, I think. If logic works, like you can look at some code and then you can figure out what the likely name of the function is that you're going to use. That probably means you have a really reliable, good architecture, or that's a sign of a good, reliable. All right, so let's see. For st scene, we should have a dot st. Why don't we have? All right, did I not update the scene interface? So we should have a scene interface. Go to definition. Ah, and actually, I guess we can say st group IDs. Let's see if we can get away with actually making it a required field. I think we can. Like the transpiler should break, right? Yeah, and it did, as expected. So I always start with the lowest one normally, and that's a mistake whenever you have an interface issue like this, because the part is telling you where is causing this problem. So line 41 in ST scene service is where the problem is, but it's a result of line 5 in the scene interface. ST group IDs. Oh, comma, and comma. And I used to hate trailing commas. I really did. I really, really did. And it was a deep, deep, harsh hate. So I can tell you that I my lesson was taught to me by Git. It is so much easier if you already have the trailing comma when somebody adds something new to not have a Git conflict. But if you don't have the trailing comma, oh my God, see, I'm working really hard to try to get not get into that preachy mindset, and I apologize. But so the issue is that when you have a comma, when you don't have the comma there, if I wanted to add like let's say I wanted to add like something like st giving, right? It's like this thing could be like happy, right? So it's giving happy, comma, right? And you wanted to add some other thing, we both have to end up changing. I guess that's not true, actually. If I make my change up here and there's no comma, it still has no comma. Oh, I've got to remember that. That gets me in trouble all the time at work. I don't mean like actually in trouble. I just mean like um, I get myself all jammed up in some sort of Git conflict, and that is there really was no reason for it. I don't need that trailing comma for that. Um, Now, I've seen people get very offended by the whole concept. All right, so I think it's happening now. I wish I had had one of those little things. Okay, so now in my ST scene, I want to push my group ID. Now, the good news is I didn't even think about it, but like the really good news is that that we actually have run a bunch of that code that we just wrote, and we didn't have any bugs in there, which is amazing. Um, I guess it's not that amazing now that I think about it, because I mean the transpiler or the IDE would have caught that. All right. So my STD has a group ID of 7. The group ID is down here. Now, I don't understand. Oh, okay. Because, okay, so I want it to be before. I want the group. Ah, so I wanted the number to be before mesh. And and see, that was so simple. And I guarantee, I truly believe that had we said, you know what, let's make a to do, we'll figure that out later, it would have been it would have been actually quite challenging to figure that out. But right now, since we're right here, it was really easy. Add viz. So now we have our render, our camera, our scene, our group, and then our mesh. Okay. So now I think so the next step is going to be whenever the group gets created, it needs to create a mesh. So for a little bit, we're going to end up with two meshes. One of them probably won't actually ever be displayed, and then the other one, because the group one will be ignored. Um, so I wonder if there's a JS, a good JS. No, I was kind of hoping there would be like a good JS um thing, like I thought that would be cool. But there isn't, I don't think. Anyway, so now we want to do our, so this is where the mesh gets added to the scene. Oh, yeah, I guess what we'll be doing is we'll actually get the group over here and we'll add that to the scene, which we can actually do that now too. So there's no reason not to put that here. And the add, but okay, so we could actually just use the add mesh to scene. If you want, you can, if you do that, if I would have done that, it's like me saying, please punch myself in the face. Go to implementations, and we're going to say add group to scene. This is a group, and it's a 3.group. And this 3 scene, add group. Publish the dictionary. Now, and actually, we can even test this. We can validate this code. I think that's a good sign. I think we're in a situation where add viz, and then we come over here and we look at our scene, and somehow in here we should be able to see our groups, which means we'll actually, yeah. So what is this one? Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I don't know exactly how that works, but the group was added. The group didn't have anything, I don't think, in it. It says children. For some reason, that group is not displayed here, and I don't know if that's a bad thing. See, it has its own. So the way they do things is definitely different, which is not at all surprising or even bad. Um, but see, they have like their geometries, their materials. They have this object. They have these children, and our group is not in there, just our mesh, which is a little weird to me. Oh, did we not save it? Oh, we never saved this thing over here, which is the thing that actually adds, and we don't actually ever add it. So this dot, which obviously we wouldn't have now that I think about it, because we just created it. And group. 3 group. So weird. And I guess that isn't a good way to do this, because this is checking to see if there's a 3 mesh. So let's go ahead and do this for now. And again, this is code that code up there should eventually get deleted. 3 group. And then const mesh. It's so weird that I didn't have to do that here. Okay, so all of this block of code should end up being deleted. And it should be very similar comment to the one that I did up here. This is almost like a we should not need this block. And then, oh my gosh. And then back over here. And one thing to really keep in mind is that we don't ever like this, none of this code ever makes it to the end. It's all refined away. Um, so like trying to work backwards from the finished code is many times like trying to figure out what a corn plant looks like from corn oil. I mean, a lot of the code that is finally makes it and gets stored into source control is very, very cleaned up and refined in most cases. Now, what was it over here that we? So this one should be gone when we're. And again, this is another breakthrough for me. Now, what stinks is like for me at my current job, it doesn't really work because in Visual Studio, um, not Visual Studio Code, but Visual Studio, these it doesn't like to encode these um, emoticons and stuff. So that is a kind of a bummer because I do like this a lot. I do work in Visual Studio Code as much as I possibly can, though. All right, so now let's see if we get something and see if it works. So our scene, we got geometries, materials, and then we got the children. And this child has a geometry and a material. I still don't see our group though. Children, it's a mesh. Did this ever get called, I wonder? Curious. Well, let's just do it. Adding group. I'm very curious if the actual code is even. Um, so I'm looking for that adding group, right? Oh, here we go. So it was very unhappy about something bad happened because saying three objects is not an instance of three object ID. Did we ever even get to? So it doesn't look like we ever got to adding group. Do I do that before or after? Add group to scene. Three group. Doesn't feel like, I don't think we ever even get here. And there is no group in our list. So I don't know what's causing that. It seems unlikely that is this. Let's see. So I don't know. I guess we need to sort of comment out. Yeah, right now I don't know exactly what to do, but I'm going to comment this code out and see if anything gets better. I don't expect it to get better. Okay. And what stinks is that it doesn't tell you like it's not. I mean, it does. I'm not blaming anything. I'm just saying it's a bummer that we're not getting any errors in our side. All right. Oh, maybe this is the problem. This is probably the problem. That probably actually that line of code shouldn't be there. I don't know why I'm commenting it. If I had to guess, I'm guessing that the problem is that one of the all that code that I was writing. Okay, so that problem went away. Now the code that was adding it is here. So let's see if we ever get there now. And I might have actually, I think I was passing in group, not three group, even though there is no group. I don't know. Oh, actually, I think this gets rendered. Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out. Yeah. So add viz. Let's look in here. Children. It's not there, but we don't have the error, but we also don't have that. So it doesn't look like it exists yet. Now we know that the base group. Okay, so it looks like what I'm guessing is we're not actually getting anything back. This is probably not returning. Okay. This is probably not returning. It's probably returning like a null or something. Regroup, comma, three group. So all that code that I was like, it was bug free. That was amazing. It's probably not the case. It probably has some kind of bug in there. Yeah, undefined. What? Must have pressed the wrong one. All right, so there's a problem in here. So let's hit reload. Add a new viz. Okay, do we have, I know we have an ID, but do we have a, did not want to do that. I wanted to step into it, not over it. All right, so this was supposed to go to the dictionary and get a group, but I'm guessing my dictionary is empty? No. Oh, interesting. So we have a group, but it's ID number 4. But we asked for group 5. Hit play and go back to here. Okay, so for some reason that is confused. Whatever the ID that we're sending is the wrong ID. It's the mesh's ID. We're sending that ID. So, yep, and the reason it's giving us the mesh ID is because we're asking for the mesh ID. All right, let's try this again. So yeah, we actually there's like some more code that we have to do that determines what gets rendered there. So if we want the group, so scene, object, scene, children. This is our mesh, and this is our group. Oh my gosh, that wasn't too bad actually. But I don't even know how we would have ever figured that out if we didn't have this visualization though. And so I feel like now is the time actually probably won't be an easier time to actually get groups to show up in here. So we need to go in here, inspect, figure out what this component is. Okay, it's my app3 table. And there's a bunch of ways to do this. This is one of my favorite ways to do this, is to do like a search through there. Um, so we have our app data layout. This gets our app3 table. It's the one with the selector. That's the one we want. So, oh, this is not going to be as easy as what we were hoping. Okay, so there's a lot of steps here. So we got to integrate that. I feel like this is the time to do it too, which this is a whole rabbit hole I wasn't even thinking of. Um, so I think what happens is, does this, I think it uses like a types to determine what goes in this thing. So it's three type record count. It comes from something called three record. And so let's go look at our three record. Ooh, I got a little bit of a scared feeling in my stomach. Let's see, where's our three record? All right, so three dictionary, three type. Oh, we get this row transform. Okay, so our three type's only a string, so that's good. And basically, okay, data source data. Yeah, I can't quite get a good grasp on this. This is a bit different. Like the way Angular material does their tables is a lot different than what I'm used to, so I don't quite have that down. But it looks like I need to pull in my three group service. At least we know that. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Three group service. Three service. This, it's kind of weird that it doesn't know about that. It's not giving me the blue. Object. Three service. I don't know why I can't find it. Let's see. Maybe it can. Yeah, it's so weird. All right, so I think we can probably. I have faith in the architecture that I can sort of just use logic to figure out what three scene. Oh wait, three. It's group service. And then it's native, and then this is group. Let's get rid of everything other than this, comma, group, and then group service. There we go. And oh yeah, that was my problem. The reason I couldn't find it is because there was for some strange reason I got in my head that I was trying to get three service, not group service. Boom and boom. All right, now we have our three group service, and then I'm assuming that we can copy this down. Three. I'm just going to kind of follow this pattern that I've sort of developed. I'm definitely going to say that this is obviously a very organic pattern here. I don't know if it was a good idea or not, but it looks very unorganic. It looks like very like clinical, but it was very organic. Okay, I'm assuming that our three group service has a hash. I'm definitely getting a spam call. Three group So basically, if anything in the group changes at all in that hash, and I think I remember talking about that in this, and now we're going to get our raw data. And this is sort of like a intermediary step. Like a lot of times once you start seeing this sort of thing show up, what happens is um, they'll like make it like a common abstraction. Like, so we have the word that we use a lot, we kind of toss around called abstracting, and there's different ways of abstract or different reasons for abstraction. And one reason for abstraction is like so that you have like one kind of code base that does all the same things over and over again. So it changes it for one, changes it for all of them, or and like less overall, um, um, less overall um, code to maintain, and and that's one reason. So you rarely ever see code like this, but most code that does get common, well abstracted that way, is um, like it started like this. So group row, group dictionary. And so like I'm, oh man, three group dictionary. And what's the complaint? It says three group dictionary is not for three dictionary types. Okay, so can you get there from here? Like I wonder if you can just go over here, click and click on this. No. Now if I save this, then that first one, I remember the very first one will tell me where, no, I thought the first one would tell me where the problem was. Okay, so it's saying that there's something called three group types that maybe it's defined in this folder. I mean, in this file. Oh, and maybe that was right. Oh no. See, yeah. What's a three type? No. Okay, there. Three dictionary type. There's a way to get to it. Go to definition. And then we can add or three group dictionary. And boom. All right. Why don't I see group here? I really thought we'd see group at this point, but maybe not. And we hit this back button. Oh, because I never actually assign it. And I imagine where I assign it matters here. It doesn't matter, it doesn't really matter up there, but see, it goes camera, geometry, material. So I think I would rather have, yeah, I think the top one should be renderer row. It's kind of wild that I didn't. It's just so weird how the stuff that you notice. Um, and then scene row should probably be second. And then under scene row should be group row. And then under, wait, nope. Yeah, I guess it makes sense to make camera above scene because camera and scene are siblings, right? They're at the same level. Um, and then inside of a scene is a group. Inside of a group is a mesh. And I do think this is an example where that lagging comma can be really helpful um, for future changes. Like, so they don't have to alter line 106 because you want to add a new line. Camera scene, renderer camera scene, and we have two scenes. Why do we have two scenes? Why is group coming across as a scene? That is weird. Mm, so I'm guessing that this something, okay, so it gets that, does, oh, that's why. Because apparently we pass it in when we do the transform. Camera scene group. All right. Now when we add one, do we see our group? Yep, there's our group. We expand it, and that is our group. It's got nothing in it right now. And if we look at our scene, I think it has a group. All right, so that is that. And so I think the next step is going to be to go back to our ST scene service, and we need to, no, so I think the next step is to go into scene service, add group to scene. We want to go into our group service and we want to add our meshes. So very similar to the way, see here we create the group. Now at this point, we want to create a base mesh. So tomorrow morning when we get up, it'll be Monday morning. I'm sure I will be tired. I'm sure I will only have a few minutes to work on this. And so I can come up to speed really quickly. I'm going to give myself a little green checkbox, which means like this is what I'm working on at this moment. Um, and in and I need to create a new mesh and add it to the group. And then I did find that it was very, very helpful to kind of pseudocode it. So this dot mesh service, and do I, yeah, st mesh service. Dot create base group. I think it's like that. Look at scene reference. All right. I feel like that should be good enough to get me rolling first thing tomorrow morning. But I think so. This is Refactor video number 13. I feel like we're getting close. We do have it wired up now. We've actually validated the code is actually, in fact, creating actual ThreeJS groups and all that stuff, and we've added it, and we validated that on the ThreeJS side, it's being added to the scene, and we validated that on the ST side, the references are nice and solid, right? So we know we have a group ID of 4, and then this group ID doesn't have any meshes, but it's getting added. So that means I think if I create a mesh in here and do this, we're actually going to have a group and the mesh at the same time. And then that will, it may or may not work. It probably will work. I would think we'll just have two identical things. And then we should be able to delete this mesh. Now, I don't know if the animations are going to work. They probably won't actually. So we'll probably have like one that's just sitting there not moving and one that is moving, or maybe not. I don't know. Actually, now that I think about it, I think we add the animation at the mesh, so it will probably work. Um, and if that is the case, if it actually just works, then we can just delete the mesh here and it'll and everything will be fine. So if that is the case, then we're probably like 3 videos away from being done. If it is not the case, like if the mesh inside doesn't move, then we're probably like 8 more videos away. But I think it will, because I think what happens is a mesh has its own animations, and I think that the animation system looks doesn't know anything about groups or anything else. All it knows about is the mesh that it needs to animate. I think that's how that works. So anyways, happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.